All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is our weekly Wednesday AM meditative writing circle. I'm your facilitator of the group. My name's Halona Black, and we do this every week. We're just a group of women who want to be able to get together, and we journal to be able to find stories in our lives that we want to be able to talk about that we can turn into other projects. Those projects might be a book, it might be something you want to share on social media, it could be something that you just want to write for yourself in your journal, it could be an essay, it could be anything. So I appreciate you all for showing up for this meeting every week. And so we always want to be able to start with a very short meditation just to be able to ground us and being here for the moment. So what I always do is I turn off the video for this particular portion to allow us to be able to focus on what it is that we are doing. And we just sort of settle in the seat. Sometimes I'll wiggle in my place to be able to help me to settle in where it is that I'm sitting. And you just start to get a feel for where it is that your breath is at the moment. I like to call it letting your breath catch up with you in the moment where you are. You might be able to feel where your heartbeat is. You can put your hand over your heart. And I like for my breath and my heartbeat to be able to catch up and sync with one another. You can learn how to be aware of where our breath and our heartbeat are at the same time. And if you can feel the energy just sort of start to pull down from the top of your head all the way towards the back of your head, down to your neck. Like a decompression, helping you to remain present in where you are at the moment. The energy pulls down your neck, down your back. Down to your lower back, all the way down towards the back of your legs, past your thighs, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles. And if you can watch that energy just sort of go all the way down through the bottom of your feet and into the ground. And as your energy goes into the ground, you start to feel more stable, more present. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And if you care to, you can turn your video back on. Good morning, Miss Carolyn. I see you. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. Last week we were talking about emotional eating patterns.
Good morning, honey.
Good morning. And there was turned out that there was so much for us to be able to talk about that we decided to bring what we were talking about into a part 2 so that we can finish our questions from last week. So just to do a review of what it is that we talked about. We talked about the question from last week was reflect on moments when you've turned to food in response to your emotions. What emotions were you feeling and what did you crave? And so just in general, what we talked about, some of the emotional eating patterns that we saw were kicked up by things like stress and anxiety. Like if you needed to be like a temporary relief from a particular moment or a situation. Food can also be a happy trigger. Doesn't always have to be particularly stress and anxiety, but if if when you're feeling well, we engage in food and eating when we're in a happy state as well. There's hormonal changes, which I think is important, and I think it's probably less talked about around things like menstrual cycles, pregnancy and menopause, those sorts of processes can influence emotions and food cravings. We also look at food as sort of like a coping mechanism. So eating can be a way to manage feelings of sadness, loneliness, and boredom. There's cultural influences. There could be societal expectations and perhaps even media portrayals that can impact our body image and eating behaviors. And it can also be a learned behavior. I know for myself, I learned a lot of my eating patterns from watching my mother. So whenever she was stressed, she would go straight for things like sugar. So family environment and childhood experiences can teach us all to associate food with being comfort, with being loved, with being comfortable. So it's important to remember all of those things. Um, was there anything else? Did I miss anything that anybody else wanted to add? No? Okay. All right. So let me see where, oh, here we go. So our first journaling question that I have for today is how do I feel physically and emotionally after an episode of emotional eating? So how do I feel physically and emotionally after an episode of emotional eating? I'll put it in the chat so that we can see it. Okay, so we're asking the question, how do I feel physically and emotionally after an episode of emotional eating? Would anyone else like to start the group off today? Either with what you've read or what you've written rather, or you can just give a basic overview of what you've written as well. That's all right. Yes, Sheree. I can't hear you. Your audio is off.
You can't hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, I realized that um, I like the feeling of fullness because it makes me sleepy.
Mhm.
And usually, if I'm emotional, I want to go to sleep to move further away from the issue that was plaguing me in the first place. And then I wake up the next day feeling refreshed and not as weighted down by yesterday's issue. But through this exercise, I'm realizing that all I needed was rest. I didn't need the vittle. I needed to rest to reset. However, a full belly is the fastest way for me to get to sleep.
Mhm.
It's something about feeling satiated in my belly, and I'm thinking I could still, like, even have a cup of tea. I just need some weight in my
Mhm.
belly. And I wonder, like, is that like a baby kind of thing? Like having a bottle and my belly was full, you know? I wonder
Possibly,
if
yeah.
that's what I,
To just be comforted. If you
yeah,
think of,
clean diaper and
yeah,
full circle. Yeah.
yeah. That's very interesting to be able to
Mhm.
connect it to your eating habits, to being comforted when you were a baby,
Mhm.
to be able to have food and to feel good and to have your mother or whoever it is that
My
was
mama.
feeding you,
Mhm. Mhm.
to be able to probably hug you. I don't know if you were breastfed or bottle
I
fed.
was.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was breastfed. Mhm. That milk is so sweet and thick. And the way that it fills your belly, like almost like I can remember.
Hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, that's good to be able to connect with that at
Mhm.
all.
Thank you.
Anyone
Thank you for
else?
allowing me to share.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Anyone else? Anyone, can you relate or have something completely different? Either one is fine.
yeah. Hi, everybody. Who Sherry, that was profound. And I recall as a younger woman, I would I could actually eat in the bed
Mhm.
and turn over and go straight to sleep. You know, like have your and that was great. I used to love doing that. I can't do that anymore.
Mhm.
But when I was thinking about the question, I was thinking about, how do you feel physically and emotionally after an episode of emotional eating? So first thing came to me was, um, how do I emotional eating depicted in my mind like a negative, like eating from something negative that happened.
Mhm.
But I tend to eat emotionally, period. And I eat emotionally basically when I feel good. It's a reward. It's a comfort. It's because when I'm upset, I have no appetite,
Oh.
and I tend not to want to eat until I feel better. And then when I feel better, I have to make a conscious choice about what I choose to eat because I'll go straight for the stuff that's creamy and buttery or whatever, all those things that we need to stay away from. Those things make me feel good. So if I choose to eat those things, then I tend to make myself feel guilty for choosing those things, but I let that go very, very quickly, because I I feel better when I eat, um, and I feel good. It's like gravy on a biscuit.
Mhm.
So every food is emotional for me. Food is a language for me, like I think it is for a lot of people. So I don't tend to eat when I feel badly, but I do um, see food still as a comfort, in many instances, as a reward, as have a full day or a busy day or whatever. I want to eat well. I want to enjoy something well. So it's good to be aware of that so that I can make good food choices instead of going for the mashed potatoes and fried chicken like I still like that stuff. Thanks.
What's wrong with mashed potatoes and chicken? I get you.
Fried chicken. Fried chicken.
Yeah. I try to work with feeling guilty with eating food and trying to make because it's a judgment that we put on the food and trying to just make it like eating it as a neutral activity. And I have to have I've learned to have constant conversations about what it is that I'm eating after a couple decades of disordered eating habits on my end. I've learned to just sit there. All right, Halana, what are we eating today? Like I would use the word we, like there's a group, like there's a council of Halanas who are sitting around together to have a conversation about what it is that we're eating today. Well, why is it what do you want when you like one of the things that I will do on the weekends is I feel like I want to have brunch. And because I don't eat a lot of things that are served at brunch places, I have to make my own brunch. So I might make something like scrambled tofu and potatoes and whatever else I could come up with. I don't necessarily want to eat tofu all the time because it's not necessarily good for things like hormones and things like that. But sometimes I just want it, and I instead of making it wrong, I'll say, well, what are we trying to feed when we say we want to have the scrambled tofu? And it's usually because we just want to be able to relax. It's a Saturday or a Sunday, and I just want to be able to. It feels like something fun for me to be able to do. So as long as it feels that way and not that I'm feeling something else, as long as I have some sort of awareness around what it is that I'm eating and why, then I feel like it gets rid of the guilt and I feel like the food will digest better as opposed to being worried about what I'm eating and feeling guilty um, and making it wrong. Anybody else? Sheree said she has.
I'll share briefly. I can relate to what everyone has said. I'm also learning how to take the guilt out of eating, you know, especially something that we say that, I'm not going to eat this. I'm
Mhm.
not eating that. That's horrible. That's bad. I find that I feel worse when I embrace the guilt.
Mhm.
Yesterday, I was feeling frustrated about something. And on my way home, I was like, I'm going to the Dollar Tree. And anytime I go to the Dollar Tree, I'm gonna buy at least one item of junk. And a lot of times I will try to hide it from myself by saying, you really do need some paper towels. But the real, I know in the back of my mind, the real reason why I'm going there is because I just want something to help me soothe out this emotion.
Mhm.
And I went in there and I bought just one of those little tiny Ben and Jerry's ice cream things. It's only like 3 ounces in there, but I bought it. I ate it, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to feel bad because some things cause inflammation in my body. And
Mhm.
I ate it, and I didn't feel anything at all. I was like, good. I ate it. I got it over with, done, and then I just went on about my day, and
Mhm.
no guilt. It's done. But
Mhm.
it's. I notice how sometimes it can be extreme. I have a friend who's the strictest vegan ever, and don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat this, don't eat that, and sometimes she'll say, "Oh, I'm having these symptoms," and I ate something really really bad, and I'm like, "Well, what did you eat?" I ate a sweet potato. And I'll be like, "Oh my God, yeah, yeah." It's really on that level. It's like you know, and God forbid if she had put some butter on it, that would probably take her right straight on out. But sometimes we eat things, I think also, well, me, like just for the energy. Like I don't eat a whole bunch of, I really don't eat a lot of carbs. But sometimes if I go to like my son's house and my daughter-in-law has cooked something, I'll, with like rice in it, I'll say, yeah, I'll have some just
Mhm.
for the energy
Mhm.
and just to make people feel good. Now I'm not going to eat no pork chop to make nobody feel good. I don't, but I'm just, just little things, just for the energy. You don't have to overeat it. You don't have to eat a lot,
Mhm.
but just, be considerate of other people and of course of yourself. So yeah, that's the thing for me. Just release the guilt.
Mhm.
Release the guilt.
Yeah, to release the
Sometimes we need something, just release the guilt, get over the edge, and go about your business. And like I said, I didn't feel any after effects at all. So that's my little
yeah.
input.
You got to be able to find a way that works for you in the moment, and it could actually it that I find that it changes. It can change from moment to moment. But that's interesting that you said that there's certain foods that cause inflammation, and for me, it's the same way. Like if I eat sugar or if I eat bread, I can feel like my joints um just start to feel painful. Not, not in the I can't walk, but it's just, I can feel it's like pressure in my joint. Yeah, I can feel pressure in my joints on my belly. Will sort of start to get feel swollen. Um, but then there's sometimes I'll eat something that may not necessarily be on my regular eating list. And if I feel okay with it, I'm not overdoing it, maybe just taste it a little bit, but excuse me, um, it's not as bad as what I remember it to be. Um, which is strange because that like before I had lost a bunch of weight, I never noticed those things at all. I would just sort of eat whatever was, whatever it is that I prepared or went out to eat. And I never noticed feeling ill after being sick. It was only after I had, lost weight and started to pay attention to more of what it was that I was eating. And after doing a series of detox protocols, I started to feel what food actually does to the body. It either helps me to feel good or it makes me feel bad. Sure, you said sugar seasoning.
I was saying, like, when you were speaking of, you can feel the effects of the sugar in your body.
Mhm.
It seizes the joint capsules.
Mhm.
So when you were saying like it's a squeezing or it's a pressure or
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's what I feel. If I
Okay.
had to
Yeah, I
use
get
a
that.
word,
Mhm.
it's a seizing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Or we can move on to the next question. Okay, let me see. Question number 3. List alternative activities that you can engage in when you experience emotional eating triggers. How do these activities make you feel? So list alternative activities that you can engage in when you experience emotional eating triggers. How do these activities make you feel? Okay. So the question is, list alternative activities that you can engage in when you experience an emotional eating trigger. How do these activities make you feel? I see y'all are still right.
I'll share.
Sure.
Sometimes for me, a short walk or just laying down, just resting.
Mhm.
And even though this is also ingesting something, but drinking sparkling water helps me a lot too.
Mhm.
It kind of helps to get rid of whatever craving or um, whatever I might be thinking that I need to have at that moment to get past the emotion. But those are the things that, work for me.
Mhm. I like bubbly water too, with just, which is weird because I used to really love like Coke and like Sprite. Back when I used to have coffee, because I don't really drink coffee anymore, but back when I used to drink it like water, drink coffee like water, and then I had to stop drinking it, then I would switch to soda because I thought that Coke was better. The things that we tell ourselves to be able to convince ourselves that one thing is better than the other. But don't do that. Don't have Coke in the morning for breakfast. But in the last few years, I've learned to really like just plain soda water. That is nice to have, and to be able to mix it with like fresh orange juice or just lime juice. I like to be able to do that as well.
I never knew soda water with lime would taste so good. That's such an
Mm-hmm.
interesting
Mm-hmm.
development.
It is. It's really good, and it doesn't have to have a ton of sugar in it. Anyone else? What activities do you engage in as an alternative activity to emotional eating?
So the things that I came up with, walking,
Mhm.
yoga, swimming, phoning a friend. What I realized the emotion that I eat the most to replace
Mhm.
or like to not be present with is loneliness.
Mhm.
But interestingly enough, I also, as I was writing through this, I also realized that a lot of the like these alternative activities usually happen with food. So I also realized I kind of created my own like Pavlov, with the ringing the bell with the dog and the mouth start watering and you just ring the bell. Like I was like, oh, we usually eat. So that's why I go to food, but I could actually just go do these things, right?
Mhm.
I also realized that a lot of the things that I'm doing now are community, right? Like community oriented things. Um, so it's just it wasn't that long ago where, yeah, I would spend a lot of time just ordering from the food delivery. But now I just go do things. Well, I don't have to go do because it's usually scheduled, right? Like there's swimming and there's like all these things that are scheduled. Um, but yeah, the thing that I was looking for is to feel connected. And so I'm able to do that with creating activities, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah, to be connected with other people. I think that's important. to rather than just fill the space with unhealthy things. You fill it with things that I guess that that fills probably the bigger emotional need than the food does.
Well,
I
the
think.
true emotional need,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm looking to feel connected. It's just so happened that we usually connect over food. So
Mhm.
it's like, oh, the food, I'm still left feeling not
Mhm.
quite connected.
Mhm.
Like, oh, just go do the thing.
Yeah.
I'm very much like Kim. I'm not hungry when I'm upset. So I might drink some tea or something like that. Uh, and preferably a herb tea that deals with emotions, um, like mugwort or blue vervain or something. And but emotional eating, I just eat. I eat. I because it's usually celebratory. And sometimes, like yesterday, I didn't want to eat alone. So I'll
Mm.
call a friend to eat with me, you know. So that's how I handle my emotional eating. When I need somebody, I'll call them and we meet over food.
Mhm.
My go-to is my childhood friend from elementary school.
Mhm.
We just met yesterday. Hmm.
That's nice.
Hmm.
That's nice to be able to have that. Somebody who knows you,
Hmm.
and it probably brings a sense of comfort. They know you in a different way than perhaps other people know you
Yeah.
in your life. And so it's sort of, you can let your guard down and not have to feel like you have, or at least for me, you feel like you wouldn't have to feel like you have to explain certain things.
No, she's fills the bill.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Nice.
You know what I thought of is getting in my face, like getting in touch with myself through my eyes, doing some mirror work. I thought of that as I'm going to try it as an alternate activity to just look in the mirror and say, what's going on? Like,
Mm.
talk to me as though I would talk to a friend or that I would coach someone. Like, what's happening? Why do you feel like you want to have this right now? And I know, like, and really have like a conversation with myself. Like, look, you have goals. The funniest thing is that I always say I want to live to 108, right? But if you're going to live to 108, you want to be strong. You want to be a good 108, right? So I feel like I need to I'm going to try this to really have, do some mirror work and see if I can have a conversation with myself to kind of redirect myself in the direction that I truly want to go. I don't want to self sabotage. I really don't.
Right.
But I do. Yeah, so I'm going to give that a go. I'll let you know how it works.
Mirror work is great.
It
I've done
is.
and I do it.
Yeah.
Louise Hay is
Yeah.
you okay, yeah. So it really works and it's self-edifying.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For a lot of years, I tried to sit and do mirror work with myself, but it
Mhm.
took some time for me to be able to get used to it because I didn't like looking at myself and what I look
Mhm.
like in the mirror. It was really hard, mostly because of things that I heard other people say to me about what I look like as a child. And so, having to be faced with looking at it as an adult, it's like I just didn't want to look at it. I'm a little better at it now. It feels a bit more comfortable.
Girl, you're
But
gorgeous. Stop that mess. You're gorgeous. You're glowing.
Yeah, it's time to listen to some new folk.
Yeah.
it's the message, it's the matter of learning how to reprogram because I still see the 8-year-old who's being put in front of the mirror and talking about, just how fat you are. And then you look at pictures of yourself when you're a kid and you're like, I wasn't even fat at all. What are y'all talking about? But the programming in your head is still there. Or the things about yourself that, people would just decide that they wanted to be able to talk about, just to be able to talk about me. I don't know why. But that it trying to learn how to leave that behind and come up with your own thoughts about how you feel about yourself is a process in and of itself. So, what else I wanted to say? Oh, so one of the ways that I like to be able to have an alternative, to create an alternative experience for myself to outside of eating, I've learned to just sit and breathe as opposed to just, unconsciously, go out and eat a bunch of stuff. Is to just learn how to sit and breathe. And that's when I start to have those conversations with myself. And then, I'll ask, so like if I want something, just to be able to be soothing in the moment, I will usually want something salty. So that'll be like some chips, or I like gluten-free pretzels. And so I'll keep like a small bag of chips, or, something like that, so that I don't go out or make something else that winds up being very saltier than what it is that I need. But I'll just have a few bites of chips or the pretzels that I want. And then rarely I'll want something sweet. And so I don't really like cakes and all that other stuff. So what I've learned to be able to eat is dates. So I like to have dates because they're super sweet, and then you just eat a couple of those and you're done. But they're a lot healthier, and I like to add. I like to use sunflower butter, but you can use peanut butter or whatever it is that you want to use. And then I'll put like a little bit of cacao nibs on it, with just a tiny bit of salt, just the tiniest bit of sea salt on it, just to sort of bring out the sweetness flavor. That's the foodie in me coming out when I do stuff, do stuff like that. But it feels really fancy. And it sort of reminds me of the chocolates that I used to eat when I was a kid. Like I liked Almond Joy or Milky Way. And it tastes kind of the one with the coconut in it. I forget. Tish says sounds like a Reese's cup. Yeah, it does.
Mounds.
Yeah, the mounds. But I really like that. And it's all healthy ingredients, so I don't have to feel bad about what it is that I'm eating.
What's that Mexican dessert of like all the things that's compressed? Do you remember the name of it? It's not mascarpone because that's cheese, but there's this something that is like nuts and chocolate, and it's wrapped up into a ball. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I've had that before.
Oh, it's not chocolate, it's cacao. It's like nuts and cacao and a bunch of seeds. I'll look at. It kind of reminded me of that as you were talking.
Yeah, Mexicans like cacao. They like that cacao a lot. Anybody else wanted to share something? All right. Let me see. So I have a final journaling prompt that we can do fairly quickly because we're reaching the end of our hour. To design a daily or weekly ritual that involves mindful and intentional eating. So similar to what you were talking about, Sharia, about your mirror work. To design a daily or weekly ritual that involves mindful and intentional eating. how can this ritual support my emotional well-being? Okay, if anyone wants to share, I'd love to hear what you
Yeah, I'll share.
Yes.
Um, so I tried this a while ago and it didn't last. Um, um, Doing some food prep,
Mhm.
weekly food prep. And that was just, for me, it was just like maybe planning out meals for the week
Mhm.
and prepping for those ingredients so that I could eat well every day of the week. That didn't last. And it didn't last because I always found something else to do and I don't have time. And it's so crazy because I felt like I ain't got time to stand up here and cut all this stuff. I got to do here and go here and go here and do that and do that, especially, on the weekends, because I work every day, right? Full a line. And so the the funny thing is that while I was writing about this, I'm like, girl, you crazy because the commitment was to myself, not to the prep. I'm like, I don't got time to prep. But yeah, you do because the commitment is not to cutting up the vegetables and all that stuff. The commitment is to eating well.
Mhm.
So yes, so I can get that kind of stuff twisted in my head all the time. But what I do, just as a matter of habit, because it was just always in my family, we always had Sunday dinner. And I feel really strange if I don't have food on Sunday. So a lot of time, and I like pots. So I'll cook a pot of something. That tends to be a lot better. I enjoy that. And if it's something, and I only cook what I really like to eat, and I love sharing food. I have neighbors that I share food with, and that can sound, a pot of soup, a pot of beans, a pot of greens, um, that kind of stuff. So I usually do that every week. And that's just from how I was, how I was raised. It feels really strange not to have food in my house. So even if I go out, when I come home, I want my own food in my house. And and it feels good that I prepare it. I know what's in it, and then I can share it. Because I still haven't learned how to cook just for one. So when I make a pot of stuff, I make a lot of pot of stuff and and share it, and that makes me feel really, really good, especially when people enjoy it and they do, and they're like, "You cook it, right?" So it's yeah, so that's something that I have been able to maintain. But I'm going to try that food prep stuff again so that I can go for healthy things. While I'm in the house during the middle of the day, if I want a snack, I can choose some healthy things to eat as opposed to starving and grabbing a bag of chips or something like that, which I am prone to do. Thank you for that question.
So meal prep is the ritual, a weekly ritual, I guess, that you can do. Anyone else?
Part of my ritual is not having food in the house that isn't good for me. Just shopping mindfully. But I just want to backtrack to what Kim said. Kim, why don't you eat in the bed and go to sleep anymore? It's okay.
Well, you know what? If I eat too late, I can't sleep
Okay.
anymore. So when I was younger, I could, you know.
Well, I thought it was something else.
No, no, no. I wish I could.
I love doing that, but it's not late that I do it. It's just that I get sleepy.
Yeah, yeah. I just eat anytime. So if I need some space between eating and sleeping. Otherwise, I find it difficult to sleep soundly. So I sleep better when I'm a little bit hungry, not starving, because then I'll get up and eat.
That's part of mindfulness too, though, right, Halona?
Yeah, very much so. Anyone else? We have last minute or so. Mine is well, my ritual is to get up and go to the market, to be able to go and touch the things that I need to be able to feel the energy on the food. Because I like to do that. When I go to the store, it's not like I go with certain recipes that I want to be able to make in mind. I just sort of get there and just sort of see what's available. And then I like to be able to touch the food, and it's almost like the food will speak, fresh food in particular, it'll speak to me and say, oh, we can make this this week, or we can make this stir fry with this. There's a couple of other items over here that you can pick up. And it's almost it sounds weird, but it's like the food talks to me. It's like the food talks to me. And we'll sit and have conversations with each other about what wants to be made, or what's going to feel good for my body this week, or what's the thing that my body needs at the moment to be able to if you feel like you have a cold coming on, this particular thing is going to be good for you. It's weird. And sometimes when I tell people this, they're just like, girl, you something is wrong with you.
No.
Yeah, anybody else? And we can wrap up. Okay. All right, well, ladies, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing us to do a part 2 of the emotional eating. I am glad that you all came to enjoy us. For other people who are watching the recording, you can join us live in the circle if you'd like to. You can just go ahead and put your name and your email in the link that's in the description box, and you'll get the information via email, and you'll hear from me once a week. So thank you all, ladies. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.